mothers and grandmothers made real sacrifices. What is the big deal?
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, thanks so much. I really appreciate this, Richard. Good stuff. Thank you too. I really do. Again,
pleasure.
this is.
Thank you. If your listeners have any questions, my contact is 877-CALLLAW.com. Thank you, Chip.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Again, that's a liability attorney, and that's one of those. It's interesting. He just made me think of I was talking earlier about slogans, and I saw one that said "mask it or casket." Pretty catchy, right? And it's funny. I got a lot of texts on this. The phone number, by the way, is 888-810. Yeah, again, being an advocate for something is sometimes risky. You put yourself out there. And I think that people that do that are, going back to, remember Karen Silkwood? It ended up costing her life. Whistleblowers are brave people because most of the time they're not at the government levels like you see. Like remember Lindman came forward, the Ukraine call. He was one of the first that did it, and everybody questions you, and they go through. Your opponents go through everything, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult. But it's interesting. So I'm looking here at some of the. These are from the 707. What is a slogan that would define how you feel right now? This one's question authority. I got another one here. It says, change all U.S. currency names and faces now. That's obviously goes back to the Pat Thurston show when they were talking about George Washington High School. And, of course, Washington and Lincoln, Andrew Jackson should be off our $20 bill. He was a murderous monster. Harriet Tubman was supposed to take his place until Trump came into office. Now it's going to be another who knows how long. I would think that when Biden gets in, it'd be something he would push forward quickly. Another one says, err. I like this. Err on the side of love. If we don't strike a balance, imbalance will strike us. I like that. Evolve. Obey the law. I don't really understand that one. My slogan, do your own homework before you open your mouth. That's not really a slogan. That's more of a sentence. And maybe they're talking to me. I don't know. It is interesting. Black and brown lives matter. Well, I guess you could do. You could say that people of color lives matter. Would cover that? And in fact, the Black Lives Matter, I've heard, doesn't really have a problem with including brown in it because young brown men have been pulled over as well. But it is the African American experience in cities having their car pulled over. That is pretty much at the heart of that whole movement. 888-810 is the phone number. If you have a slogan that defines you. I thought about this is one I saw that said Joe Biden, but it was Joe and then B-Y-E and then D-O-N. So get it, Joe Biden. Joe Biden. Yeah, cute, right? That's a problem with so many slogans. Is they invariably sound punish. God, I hate puns, right? Here's another one. Any adult for president in 2020. That goes back to the 2016 election, if I recall. Facts matter. Good one. Dump Trump. Totally on top of that one. I can't say this one on the air, but it's very funny. You can send those too. I just can't read them. 888-810. Coming up in just a minute. This is a something nobody's ever experienced before, unless you're 100 years old. We have a couple people that actually had the Spanish flu and had this and survived. They're in their hundreds. But really having this kind of change in our world this quickly is something that some people can kind of roll with. Some people are in denial and don't really get it. Those people. And some people really seem to have wrapped this thing around their head perfectly, and they understand every step of it. They are better prepared for the pandemic than anybody. And a team of psychologists came to this conclusion. Who are they? You got to stay and listen to this. That's coming up right next. I'm Chip Franklin. This is KGO.
Be heard. KGO 810.
So there was a study trying to figure out who is dealing best with this pandemic and what are the characteristics that they all had in common. And I find this fascinating, and I know Nikki Maduro would as well. Horror movie fans and those who deemed more morbidly curious by a personality test seem to be less psychologically distressed by COVID-19, according to New Scientist. That's a publication, and they did a study. The study, which was online this week, doesn't answer why that's the case, but they suggest that those who seek out terrifying fiction might be better prepared, or at least more readily able to stay positive as a nightmarish pandemic unfolds around them. I hate horror films. Now, it depends on what you mean by a horror film. Like, I liked Alien, but I hate zombie movies. I hate movies where the bad guy looks just like somebody I trusted because they've taken that person's body. And if that's what they're talking about, then I'm not ready for it. The pandemic is one of the things that for the longest time people would say is that, do you know anybody that has COVID-19? And for the longest time, a lot of people hadn't. I was one of the few people that I had a friend get sick and die of it back in, I want to say, the third week of March. So very early on in this. But, he was a musician who had just in horrible shape, had, heart surgery and all that stuff. So he got sick and, everything just kind of went south quickly. But people that are ready for this, I just kind of curious, if you're a horror fan, do you think that it really makes you better prepared to deal with these kind of things? And what is it about people that like horror movies? Because Nikki loves them and she talks about it, and it's just, and we would sit there in the morning in the afternoon when we would do our show and talk about it. And it was like, I was just fascinated how much she loved it. And her and James would get down and watch just the really horrible ones, like Last House on the Left or, Final Destination. I remember when that first came out, my son was little and they had Final Destination 2. And he's like, how can you have two if the first one was Final Destination? He was a little kid. Even he saw through it. Nobody in my family likes them. At least I don't think so. One of my sons might now because they don't live at home anymore. But my wife and I hate them. But it is an interesting thing. The psychologist who worked on the research says that maybe horror is about emotion regulation. Because the horror movie fans had fewer negative mental states during the pandemic, they said maybe it has something to do with emotion regulation. And they speculated, just about his own experience with horror. When he watches horror films, he told, again, this is a psychologist that wasn't part of the study, but he said, it allows me to give myself the experience of being afraid and then conquering that fear. It fascinates me, that people have that want to get frightened by something, just so they know they can overcome it. When I watch a movie and I don't know how it's going to end, to me, that can cause plenty of anxiety. It can be a courtroom drama. Somebody I care, as long as I care about the person that's being tried, or there's a good guy, there's a protagonist that you care about. But in a horror film, I'm just trying to think that The Exorcist. Oh my God, I was a little kid when that came out, and I got in. It was an R-rated movie. It frightened me for years. I don't consider Jaws to be a horror movie because it's kind of I guess it is though, but it's kind of it's a natural occurrence. And I'll stay on the beach. Jaws can never get me if I don't go on the water. But boy, zombie movies, or when I was a kid, there was one about Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Remember with Donald Sutherland? I think Shelley Duvall was in it too. He the whole time. Spoiler alert, but he's these aliens are getting his friends and turning them into zombies, and he sees it happening, and he doesn't know who is or who isn't. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, the phone number is 808810. One of the big stories that is bouncing around today, and you heard Pat Thurston talk about it, and I got a lot of email and a lot of text, even though I haven't even talked about it yet today, which is the renaming or the obliteration of monuments and statues or buildings to people who had to say it kindly, a checkered past. Peter from Petaluma wants to talk about that. Peter, hi, you're on KGO with Chip Franklin. So what's your take on this?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, okay. Yeah, well, my name's, I'm from San Jose, by the way.
Oh.
And
all right,
thank you for having me on the show. So look, I'm like I told this guy here, I'm Mexican, and I don't think that they should take these statues down and and that's just a part of history. And it's like,
but really a part of history. It's just, then leave it in a book. Why do you got to? When you make a statue, you're kind of honoring that. I mean, that's what statues normally do. They honor people.
I get what you're saying, but you see, I mean, we can go back centuries ago, like when they invaded the Aztec Empire, Hernan Cortez, the conquistador. You know, back in 1519. They invaded the Aztec Empire and the Spanish, the Spaniards, and so it goes back for
Peter. I get it. I get what you're saying, but the bottom line is, people that do bad things, we shouldn't build statues and name things that we use every day in their name. All right, coming up, what are the odds there will be an NFL season?
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous, but I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 8899 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 8899. Enjoy!